All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tearing down what looks like a basic weeknight dinner and showing you exactly how the perfect salad works. We're looking at the Chinese chicken cucumber salad. I know, it sounds pretty straightforward, right? But the magic of this dish actually lies entirely in its hidden mechanics. We're going to break down exactly how you get perfectly tender shredded chicken, fiercely crisped cucumber, and a fragrant dressing to all work together in absolute harmony.
Here's our roadmap for the breakdown today. Anatomy of a perfect salad, poaching for tender chicken, the secret to crisp cucumbers, sizzling the flavorful dressing, and finally, assembly and storage. Let's jump right into Section 1, the anatomy of a perfect salad, and the 3 pillars of flavor and texture.
Moving right along to Section 2, poaching for tender chicken, the science of temperature control.
So let's talk about the protein. You're going to take 1.5 pounds of chicken legs, some ginger, 1/4 of a yellow onion, black peppercorns, a bay leaf, and maybe toss in some Sichuan peppercorns if you have them. Cover all that with about 1 inch of water and bring it to a really gentle simmer. Now here's the absolute secret: strict temperature control. You only want to cook it until the thickest part of the thigh hits exactly 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Depending on the size of the legs you bought, this active simmer phase is going to take roughly 15 to 25 minutes.
This is where the magic happens, and it's a brilliant illustration of the core technique. We are absolutely not boiling this meat to completion. Instead, right when it hits 150, you kill the heat. Turn it completely off. We transition from an active simmer into a steeping phase for about 10 minutes. Why? Because this is how you guarantee the meat stays unbelievably tender instead of turning into rubber.
During that 10-minute steep, carry-over cooking gently nudges the chicken to a perfectly safe, perfectly juicy 165 degrees Fahrenheit. By letting it just hang out in that hot liquid off the heat, the muscle fibers actually relax instead of seizing up. So, once you hit that magic 165 mark, just pull it out and transfer it to a plate to cool down.
Okay, Section 3, the secret to crisped cucumbers, or as I like to call it, strategic moisture extraction. Look, cucumbers are mostly water, right? So a standard chop is just going to give you a soggy, sad salad. We don't want that. We're taking a standard medium English cucumber and putting it through a highly specific prep method. You're going to slice it diagonally into super thin, 1/8 inch thick ovals. Overlap them, and then slice those lengthwise into matchsticks. Doing this absolutely maximizes the surface area. Then, hit it with 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt and toss. This perfectly primes the cucumber for moisture extraction.
Now, here's the crucial part. Walk away. Let those salted matchsticks rest for exactly 10 minutes. It is a vital step. The salt basically acts like a magnet, drawing out all that excess water hidden inside the cellular structure of the cucumber. Seriously, after 10 minutes, you will literally see a pool of liquid sitting at the bottom of your bowl. And once those 10 minutes are up, you have to get aggressive with it. Press that cucumber firmly over a strainer, or better yet, forcefully wring it out in paper towels or a clean kitchen towel. You want to completely discard that liquid. I can't stress this enough. This is the guarantee that your cucumber stays fiercely crisp and, more importantly, doesn't water down our vibrant sauce later on. Which brings us to Section 4, sizzling the flavorful dressing, the art of aromatic blooming. This is kind of the climax of our whole explainer, unlocking these massive, robust flavors through the sheer thermodynamic power of hot oil. We can actually divide our dressing components into 2 clean phases. On the left side, we've got the sizzle ingredients: 3 cloves of minced garlic, the thinly sliced whites from 2 scallions, a tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds, and maybe a couple of Fresno or red finger chilies if you want a kick. These are the aromatics that literally need to bloom in heat. Then, on the right side, we've got the sauce ingredients. These are our liquid flavor balancers that step in later. So, to get this going, throw all your sizzle aromatics into a heat-proof bowl. Meanwhile, grab a small saucepan and heat up 3 tablespoons of a neutral oil, like canola, over medium-high heat. You're going to watch this like a hawk for about 2 minutes. What you're looking for is the oil to become shimmering and just barely beginning to smoke. That visual cue, that's your absolute green light. The second you see that wisp of smoke, carefully pour that hot oil directly over your garlic, scallions, chilies, and sesame seeds. You're going to get what the recipe calls a vigorous sizzle. It is an immediate, explosive reaction. You're instantly cooking the harsh raw edge right off that garlic and unlocking these deeply fragrant toasted aromas from the seeds and chilies. It smells incredible. Okay, so once that intense sizzling calms down, it's time to bring in the balancing liquids. Go ahead and stir in 1 1/4 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil, A tablespoon plus a teaspoon each of regular soy sauce and Chinese black vinegar, and exactly 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. Just stir the whole shebang together until that sugar is completely dissolved. Oh, and hey, if you like it spicy, this is exactly where you'd fold in some chili oil, like lao gan ma, to taste.
All right, final stretch. Section 5, Assembly and Storage, where we finally bring these pillars together.
We've got our 3 perfectly executed pillars ready to go: the poached chicken, the extracted cucumbers, and that bloom dressing. Now we assemble. And what's actually really fascinating here is the physical mechanics of hand shredding the chicken. Once it's cool, ditch the skin and bones and literally pull the meat apart into thin shreds. As the recipe explicitly points out, the pieces don't need to be thread-like, but they do need to be thin enough to physically catch the dressing. You're basically creating millions of tiny little textural pockets for that flavor to hide in.
So grab a massive mixing bowl, toss in your perfectly textured, hand-shredded chicken, and those ultra-crisp, aggressively squeezed cucumbers. Then we add this beautiful pop of freshness, those thinly sliced scallion greens we saved from earlier, along with about 3/4 of a cup of loosely packed sliced cilantro, leaves and tender stems, both.
Now for the dressing phase. You're only going to add about half of your dressing at first, so roughly 1/4 cup. Toss it really thoroughly, give it a taste, and then add more if you think it needs it. By dressing it gradually like this, you coat the ingredients perfectly without drowning them. And the best part? Because of how we built this, it's totally versatile. You can serve it icy cold straight from the fridge or just room temperature. It works beautifully both ways.
Now, from an efficiency standpoint, you can absolutely hack this for a busy weeknight. Look at this timeline. You can prep that dressing up to 3 days in advance and just keep it in the fridge. The chicken? That can be poached and shredded a full day ahead. But notice that third point. It's crucial. You must save salting and squeezing those cucumbers for right before you assemble, otherwise you completely lose that crunch. And just a heads up, once everything is fully mixed and dressed, leftovers will only hold up in the fridge for about 1 day.
Which leaves us with one final, very delicious thought. Once your perfectly constructed salad is devoured, you're going to have leftovers of that incredible sauce, since you only used part of it for the assembly. The source material notes that this excess liquid gold is absolutely killer served over cold noodles, but honestly, the possibilities are endless. So my question to you is, what will you put that leftover flavor-packed dressing on? Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and I really hope you have fun putting these culinary mechanics to the test in your own kitchen.